Hello everyone, this is Red Dude. Don't forget to drop a comment, it might be featured in the next video. What is the most dangerous situation that you got into because you were horny? NSFW. I was a single guy, trying to find a date on Craigslist. I reached out to this outdoorsy, super fit, adventurous woman. We talk, we hit it off, so I invite her on a first date to go for a nice long hike in the Oregon wilderness. I pick her up from her place, she had a backpack full of survival gear with a machete strapped to the side. I thought bringing it along was kind of weird, but my desire to spend some time with this girl clouded my judgment. We go out into the wilderness, go for a hike. It starts out great at first. A few miles in, we come across a river. We decide to go skinny dipping and had some crazy sex by the river. Afterwards, we are covered in mud and other things, but decide to start heading back. She decides she doesn't want to get dressed again. She also wants to take a shortcut, insisting she knows the way. This naked woman covered in mud pulls out her machete and starts hacking away through the brush. Sticks and thorns from blackberries tear at her skin along the way, adding blood to the mixture of things on her body. We go her way for quite a while. She was growing increasingly frustrated and angry. Finally, I tell her that I think we are going the wrong way and I was going to go a different way. She objected, but ultimately decided to start following me. I get us back to a highway and kind of tease her that I was the one that figured it out. She then grabs some nearby roadkill and throws it at me. I was rather pissed about this, but I decided just to get this over with. We walk along the highway, her still naked, until we get back to my car. Only one person drove past us on the way back. I couldn't even imagine what they thought seeing me being followed by a muddy and bloody naked woman wielding a sword. I tell her she can't get into my car unless she puts her clothes back on. After some arguing, she finally does. We had a long and awkwardly quiet drive home. I dropped her off at her place and never spoke to her again. Me and a buddy met some chicks at a bar one night and instead of just bringing them back to our place, we thought it would be a good idea to take them fishing. 5 minutes into it this chick is riding me. I figured out the following day my ass was directly on top of poison ivy. I don't know if anyone has ever had poison ivy all the way in the crack of your ass, but it's fucking intense. I was talking to a guy online and thought he was super hot. At 17yo, I drove 4 hours to meet an internet stranger and get some strange. Luckily, he was exactly who he said he was. My parents found out as I was driving home in a torrential downpour. My dad printed out statistics on internet stranger danger when I got home and I was obviously grounded for a long time. Anyways, we're married now. Got drunk at a bar on a business trip. The bar was in a restaurant that closed pretty early. Was outside having a smoke when one of the employees came out after his shift and asked if I wanted to go to a party and meet some girls. I said yes. It was a crack house. I smoked crack because it seemed like a better idea than being murdered for being a narc. I was still wearing a suit and tie. Had a neighbor like that. Worked as a cook at Denny's and a bartender somewhere else. After last call would invite complete strangers to his tiny apartment and party until 5 am, waking us all up. One weekend 2 girls had a fist fight outside of his door before they were dragged away by friends before the cops arrived. The next morning he's out in the hall, scrubbing away the bloodstains, swearing that will never happen again. 8 hours later he's back at it and his guests had an all-out brawl in the hallway. I got invited to what I thought was my colleague's birthday, but turned out to be her cousin's. I thought I'd make the best of it, but ended up too drunk. We started making out in a construction site which was muddy and ended up being driven to her home in the boot of a van. We continued what we started in her room, but she was so loud. She had around 10 siblings living at the same house, mostly brothers. They started shouting and cussing since it was late. She told me to continue, and I did, since I was drunk. When they started furiously hammering on the bedroom door she went out and they started physically fighting. Her mother gave me a death stare and I got my half-naked ass out of there and realized I was in the middle of the woods God knows where. I ended up calling a friend who picked me and the girl up, she was physically thrown out of the house and drove us home. Grateful for Google Maps. Back when I was exploring the world of online dating apps, I almost got set up for something bad. I was working night shift at a call center, so meeting women was tough and dating a coworker is always a bad idea IMO, so I signed up for the usual sites in 2014-ish. Had some connections that fizzled out, one connection that went okay for a bit but wasn't quite right either. Then an attractive woman matches with me and shoots me a message, we start talking and it's cool. We both work weird hours, have some similar but not matching tastes. We messaged back and forth in app for maybe a week. She hits me up one night as I am heading home from work and asks me if I want to meet her after she gets off work for coffee at a nearby Waffle House. I work till midnight so we would be meeting up around 1 am. I am a large white man living in a metropolitan area in Florida, so I tend to not worry too much about being attacked by strangers, and she's cute and it's been a while for me, so I agree to meet up. I pull into the parking lot and the first thing I notice is there is only one customer seated in the Waffle House, and it is clearly an elderly man. The parking lot has no streetlights, so the only light in the lot is what spills out of the windows of the diner. Standing off to the side of the front of the building, you can just see several people milling about in a group. You can see a few cigs lighting up here and there in the group as people drag on them and can just barely make out other people not smoking. Something like 4 to 6 people is what it looked like. Alarms go off immediately. So I park my car. Keep it running with the doors locked and lights on. And I shoot her a message in the app asking if she is on the way. I see one of the people in the group pull up a phone like they are reading a message and type a reply. She replies quickly that she is already inside. I ask if she's at the table or counter, she says she is sitting at a table waiting for me. And again, the only person in the group outside that I have seen use a phone pulls theirs out exactly when she gets my message, types something into their phone, and then I get a response. So at this point I'm certain this is a setup. I text her back and ask if she is sitting at a table inside, why is it I only see an elderly man eating alone and the staff working? Dude's phone lights up again, and then the group starts to move away from the building itself and towards my car, but it's already in gear, and I just roll out of there. Her profile was deleted the following morning when I pulled up my messages. Probably avoided getting jumped and mugged that night. They probably thought fat nerdy guy would be an easy mark. Back in my day not every horny teenager could just use the internet to look at boobs. Oftentimes you had to go out and find them yourself. So when my girlfriend at the time called and said that her folks were leaving and that I should come by I did not hesitate. However, I lived in a somewhat rural situation, it was winter and I could not drive a car yet. Fortunately these are but small inconveniences to the libido of a 15-year-old. I walk nearly 10 kilometers through a snowstorm and across a frozen lake for those boobs. The lake was not frozen enough. I very vividly remember the booming sounds and the feeling of the ice cracking and huge sheets shifting and shuddering under me while I was near the center of the lake. I thought I was going to die, but I thought about the boobs waiting on the other side even more. I managed to make it across the lake and the last little ways to my girlfriend's house. Unfortunately for me, it takes a few hours to do that trip. I was there for less than 10 minutes before her parents got home and kicked my thirsty ass back out into the snow. Where I proceeded to walk 12 kilometers home, around the lake, still through a snowstorm. Uphill. My ex locked me up in her room with her in it. Told me I couldn't get out unless we make up. So I literally had to fuck my way out of there. Similar. Friend wanted to date, but I wasn't super interested having just gotten dumped and cheated on. So she locks her app door and sits in front of it until I agree to go out with her. I damn near made a run for the window. I didn't want to touch her in case she played the rape card. So I lied my ass out of there and thankfully only took an awkward hug and really shitty kiss. She proceeded to stalk me for 8 years. Checking in every so often to let me know she missed me. Holy shit, something very similar happened to me. Broke up with a girl after she cheated on me, right after she demanded we be exclusive instead of just hooking up lol, and she locked the door to her house behind her, put the key in her panties and told me that there was only one way out. As she was not very stable and I did not trust her, I thought of another way to get out, which was to call the non-emergency number for the police. Explained the situation to them and that I was afraid to touch her as I could see her filing a false groping rape report if I tried to get the key from her. The police person just sighed and told me to hand her the phone. She reluctantly agreed to let me go, and afterwards the policeman told me to never call them with this kind of issue again. Fuck them, I wanted this situation to be on record in case she tried to pull any shit. When I walked into the street she still tried to prevent me from leaving by hanging onto my leg and crying, like a kid who wants their parent to buy them some candy at the store. I just wiggled my leg and noped the hell out of there. Fun times. Thank you for watching this video, if you liked it, consider checking out my other content.